Hey, I'm just getting ready to do my video for the charcuterie board. If you would do me a favor, before we get all into this and I start describing different things and different aspects about a charcuterie board, do me a favor and take a look in my description box at some point during this video. In that box I have links to my website. It's where I have my recipes, really nice recipes. I mean, like, here, let me pull out. I'll open one of these up for you. This is a recipe that I have on the website right now for free. This one is my cinnamon rolls recipe. It's worth its weight in gold. Go get it, it's free. You don't have to get more than one just to get that one. All you have to do is just go and upload it. Take a look at that, and if you like it, you might want some more of them. So take a look at those, and you might find a lot better value than you expected. All right, now let's get on with this charcuterie board, okay? Charcuterie. I can't pronounce that right. Charcuterie. Charcuterie boards. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And here's the thing: this is something that has been requested. I had somebody in my comments, in fact, a couple of different people have requested that I do some videos on charcuterie boards. Now, as you can see, I'm in my office today, and so I'm not going to be putting together a charcuterie board in front of you today. However, it's coming. I'll do one eventually. What I wanted to do today was get into a little more deep information about this subject, because I thought for months about how do I need to approach the subject of a charcuterie board. Now, what we're talking about here is essentially a cheese board, folks. And you'll see, if you go online and you type in charcuterie board, you'll see all kinds of cutting boards and stuff that are designed very beautiful, very ornate and elegant boards, and they would look beautiful on your table setting filled with cheese and other snacks and goodies. But it goes way beyond cheese. In fact, the charcuterie board is, I think, sort of the ultimate finger food table. It has gone beyond board to a full table and even larger presentations. And I wanted to address this from the point of view and the angle of doing it professionally, doing it commercially. Now, it'll still cross over. It's going to matter what I say as far as doing it at home. But you're going to glean a lot from this as far as why I approached it from the commercial aspect. Here's the thing. Too many times I have been to meetings and parties and events and holidays where there is a charcuterie board. And too many times I have walked away kind of sad and disappointed. And it's mostly in method of preparation that is being failed here. If the method of preparation was right, everything would be spot on. But what I run into are things such as bread that is stale and flavorless. Also, cheese that has skinned over on the outside and in some cases even become oily. Ew. There are, like meats. If your meat is starting to dry and curl on the edges, it shouldn't be out on your board, all right? You need to attend to the board. You don't want things to be old. You don't want to pull things out that have dried out. And I think one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of these that are prepared for commercial, that they will go through the process of cutting the cheeses and the meats and everything and doing the layout on trays the day before, or maybe in some cases 2 days before. And then they'll cover it with plastic wrap, put it in a walk-in, and consider that fresh. Well, it's not fresh, folks. And even in the walk-in, when it's covered in that plastic wrap, you pull it out, it's not going to take it very long to skin over once the party starts. because it was prepared too far in advance. All right, now there is a way to prepare in advance without that happening. And what you'll do is you'll simply do your cutting in advance. You'll do all of the prep work, what we call garde-manger work, and you will set up what's called a mise en place, which is everything in its place. But a little less organized than what we do in a formal kitchen. What you'll be doing is setting it up so that it can be stored. Storage is real important when it comes to handling a wide variety of meats and cheeses and things like that. And then laying out the board should be done immediately before the event, not the day before the event, all right? So don't do that. Even if you're doing it on trays and setting those trays out on a board, do not prep a day in advance, except for, let's say I cut all of my cheese. Instead of putting it on a tray, I will take my cut cheese and put it in a sealed wrap by itself, so I can press all of the air out and keep it nice and fresh, just as if I had just cut it. All right, and the same way on the meats, breads, all of it. Do exactly that way. Let me go to my notes here. I wanted to mention fresh. That's what we've been talking about so far, is making sure it's all spot on fresh. It is so nasty to go to one of these and then you get stale bread and skinned over cheese and warm fruits. And it's okay for them to be room temperature, but if they feel like they've been sitting out for a day or two, it's just not cool. They need to be fresh and moist and kind of cool to the touch. And if they are, those fruits will be taken in really well. And something else that adds to that feeling of freshness are greens. Bring in leafy greens, parsley, Italian parsley, cilantro, and put them in between things. These are all edible items that are also beautiful on this kind of a board, on your charcuterie board. Now, the next thing is cleanliness. Okay, one of the things that I've seen that is really just, it kind of threw me back and made me a little bit sick when I saw it. But I saw this tongs with spots on them. Now you might not think much of tongs with spots on them, but these were the kind of tongs that are sold at restaurant supply companies as a serving tong. They're plastic, they have this coating on them that's supposed to make them look like they're chrome and metal when they're really not. And so these tongs really, those kinds of tongs aren't a good choice. And when you see spots on them, you see, oh, you know immediately, okay, well, whoever set up this board is so cheap that they're going to try to recycle 19-cent tongs, or at the most 50-cent tongs from another event. Are you, please, give me a break. Those are called disposable for a reason, all right? Now the next thing is while we're on the subject of tongs, grabbing tongs where the ends of the tongs are open only a ½ inch doesn't allow you to pick up that piece of cheese that's 1 inch wide or 3/4 of an inch. You have to then spread the tongs open, get it down onto the food, pull your fingers out from in between the layers of the tongs, and then squeeze them somehow to get the food up on your plate. And it's all it's very uncomfortable. And it makes you look, as a presenter, it makes you look bad. So, okay, I was just online. I was at a restaurant supply, okay, and I priced them. Good quality metal tongs with a rubber grip, great for this kind of thing. 9-inch or 12-inch is going to run you between $2 to $3. And if you get the 16-inch tongs, the big suckers, oh yeah, they're a whopping $3.69. Okay, and that's, like I said, with the rubber grip. Now that's not the spring-loaded ones, but it's the ones that are bent and they have spring metal that they're made out of. Make sure the ends are wide enough when you're using them so you can get it over food. And the next thing is placement for the tongs. Nobody wants to set the tongs down on top of the food because everybody's hand has been on them, including their own. Plus, that's just nasty, okay? If you don't have a specific location for the tongs, make one. Okay, have a rack to hang them on. Use a bain-marie in the middle of the table to set them into. Or if you want, you can set the tongs over the edge of the bain-marie, but make sure that bain-marie then sits on a plate. So use a plastic plate, bain-marie in the middle, line it with the parsley, set the tongs over the edge of it. Looks gorgeous. All right, and it's professional. Do that, all right? So, enough about tongs. Make sure that you put the same concentration and focus on spoons and knives for spreading soft cheeses. Okay? A plastic knife that breaks while someone's trying to scoop out the brie isn't cool. All right? That just makes it, again, makes you look bad. And if the knife is too small, or if it's unwieldy, or if it's too big, again, same problem. And then make sure there's a placement for that knife to the edge of the cheese, or someplace like that that's convenient, and that it's obvious. All right, and that way people will automatically know what to do when they are at your board. Okay, so easy to access. All right, I've seen these things when they're too high up and people are looking over and trying to get stuff and knocking things off with their elbow. That's not cool. And if it's too low and people have to crouch down, also not good. Make sure that your board is set at a comfortable height. If you're doing it professionally and you're doing it on location, you should already have your own tables, your own boards, and this is so important. I am sick and tired of walking up to a professionally laid charcuterie board and there is no sneeze guard. Now I get it if you're at home and you're serving your friends off of the coffee table. Makes sense. But if it's done professionally, there is no excuse for you not to have a sneeze guard. Buy a sneeze guard. The more expensive one's going to run you $500 or $600. But those are tabletop set, double-sided, okay? Nice ones. And they'll run anywhere from $100 to $600 roughly to get a sneeze guard to cover your charcuterie board. Make sure you do that. Oh, it's just so gross to walk up to one that doesn't have that, because you know, you hear people around you sneezing and coughing and stuff like that, and then you look at the food and you wonder, oh gee, was it on that? But if there's that sneeze guard there, there's a feeling of comfort. With that sneeze guard and the sanitation that you're focused on and the cleanliness, have your people or you yourself put on gloves. And I don't mean those vinyl clear looking things. No, put on a bold blue glove, a food service glove that is very noticeable. That way people feel like the situation is clean and it was well handled. You can have well washed hands, but the glove sets it apart and makes you look much more professional. Looking professional as well. Wear an apron or a chef's jacket and take on that professional appearance that you need to have. All right? When you're doing a charcuterie board for parties and for meetings and things, a bit more of a serious side would be nice to see. And I've been to some very questionable ones. All right. Covered the basics on that stuff. And I noticed that we're about 13 minutes in. I'm trying to keep track of this. So let's start real quick before I get into what I recommend in the way of cheeses and meats and stuff. And I'm just going to throw out a few recommendations, and from there, because you know there's thousands of items, from these few recommendations it might open your mind up to better ideas, and that's what I'm going to try to do. So we mentioned freshness, and I'm starting with breads on this list. Breads and crackers. Okay, if you get stale French bread on your plate, it just makes you feel bummed out. And it would be best to have some sort of a spread for that, like Boursin cheese or some butter. Other items would be a nice consideration. A lot of these charcuterie boards use a pate on them. I don't really like pates, but it's done, all right? Spreadable cheeses, in other words, your soft cheeses, are always popular for that. Let's see, I'd recommend grissini. Now, grissini is a type of Italian breadstick. It's about as big around as your little finger, and it's about that long, okay? They're going to be hard to find in stores, so what you'd want to do if you're a professional is just contract with a bakery to make you for some fresh grissini. Or talk to the manager of a pizza shop. It's not hard to make grissini. They roll pizza dough, that's what it is. You roll it out into these very thin little straws, and then you let them rise up until they're about that big around, and then you put them in the oven to bake, all right? It's just that hard. And they're delicious. So consider grissini, French baguettes, Jewish rye, water crackers. I should see water crackers on every one of these. And I'm so sick and tired of seeing crackers with sesame seeds on them. It's okay to have one type, but when you have 5 different types of crackers and every one of them has sesame seeds, it kind of sucks for anybody that doesn't like sesame seeds. I like them, but there's people that don't. All right, and there's also people with dentures. Those things get caught in their dentures, and that's not fun for those folks, all right? Okay, here's an idea for you. Little onion rolls. If you can't find small ones, again, talk to that bakery owner. Say, look, I'm going to be buying X amount of these. Can you make them half the size that you normally make them? And you take those and turn them into your own personal onion roll sliders. You put that onion roll, paint it with some olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, put some shredded basil on there, a slice of fresh mozzarella, some fresh prosciutto, some marinated red onion, and a slice of tomato. And suddenly you've got the best slider under the sun. And it's very charcuterie board appropriate. All right? There's a cool idea for you. So consider that. Also potato rolls, stuff like that that you can turn into that little sandwich item. Or that other people can then take and make their own sandwich with. Give that option. Okay, fruits and veggies. Everything, for the most part, that is in the produce section is a good choice for a charcuterie board, but you're going to have to prepare things in different ways. A lot of things, though, that you want to keep cold, those cold serve items, are already there and ready to go. Simple things even, like celery. When was the last time you considered putting celery out on your charcuterie board? Green onions. The sweet peppers, they look like jalapenos, but they're colored and they have no heat. Split those in half. They make a beautiful filling for a Boursin cheese or some other kind of a filling. Who knows, maybe something simple like pimento cheese. That'd be real cool, huh? Consider these items. Also, dried fruits. Now think about this. Dried kiwi fruit, mango, papaya. Good stuff. There's stuff other than just dried apples and dried banana chips. Come on now. There's really good ideas out there when it comes to dried fruits. So consider those. Berries and grapes. Anything that's small, anything that works as finger food. If you have to slice it, you know, like let's say an apple is going to change colors. Now, of course, you can soak that apple that's been sliced in some lemon water, and that will help to slow down that browning, but still it occurs, and it does not look good when you get that oxidization on the food while people are coming to get things off of your charcuterie board. So certain citrus fruits don't work as well. Small ones can be set out, though. Let me think here. Kumquats. Think about putting kumquats out there. That's a neat idea, isn't it? Right, so there's options, but make sure they're little items. Finger food is kind of the rule of thumb. All right, pickled red onion. Think about that. You want to thin slice that red onion, pickle it in some apple cider vinegar. Oh, wonderful. Add a little dill to that if you want. I've already mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. Cilantro, parsley, Italian parsley. Things like this are garnishes that we put in between the cheeses and the meats, and it adds color to that table, and it's beautiful, but it's also an edible garnish. So if somebody wants a little cilantro on their sandwich, it's right there already. Very cool thing. Basil leaves make a beautiful display. Consider those. All right, so there's a lot of options there in just leafy greens. All right. Now, pickled items. We often see olives out there, but I would like to mention, if you're doing this professionally, you might want to avoid olives with pits in them. You don't want people cracking or chipping their teeth and then turning around and suing you because you gave them olives that had pits left in them. All right, so get olives that have the pits removed. And remember, there are dozens of types of olives. Look around. It's not just green and black. Find other stuff, all right? There's a lot of options. There's gourmet shops online that you can get a lot of this stuff shipped directly to you. It's really easy. Okay, so olives, okra, cauliflower, peppers, artichoke hearts. Think about that, folks. There's a thing called dolmas. You can get those already pickled and ready to go. Now, dolmas are a Greek dish. It's where they take grape leaves and put rice inside of it and roll that out. And sometimes they'll put other things, strips of meat or other vegetables inside of the dolmas. Much less common, but it does from time to time happen. So consider that as well. Nuts, cashews, hazelnuts, pecans, almonds, pistachios, and walnuts. Again, make sure the nuts are out of the shell, not in the shell. Number one, the venue you're at does not want a bunch of shells all over their floor. And number two, the people that go to your charcuterie board don't want to have to shell their own nuts. So don't put them out there in the shells, not even pistachios. Always use nuts that have been shelled. All right, so there's that. Now we get into the cheese. I'm just going to throw out some names real quick. I want you to think about these, and any of these that you haven't heard of, write them down. Now there's one that stands out as one of my favorites, and it's called Tintern. Now Tintern cheese is a cheese made in Great Britain, in fact specifically in Wales, Tintern, Wales. There's a Cistercian abbey there where they make this cheese, and what they do is they make a medium cheddar that is infused with shallots and chives, and it's beautifully aged and the flavor is incredible. All right, and if you're a professional, just get the 3.5 pound wheel, okay? It'll be beautiful on the table, and the flavor of this cheese, once you've tried it, I guarantee you'll buy more than one wheel. It is flat delicious, and it'll set your board apart from other people's because you were the one that had the good sense to pick out some of these delicious cheeses that are a little less known. Okay, so there's that one. Blue Stilton. There's a lot of blue cheeses, and you don't have to get blue Stilton to get a good blue. You can go American, go domestic, and get an Amish blue. The Amish make very good blue cheese. Blue Stilton is sort of like the gold standard. All right. Red Dragon, again, another British cheese, and this is a pub cheese is what they call it. Red Dragon is a beautiful cheese, and once you taste it, it's going to blow you away. Also Sage Derby. Man, that's where they take cheese and infuse it with sage, and it looks like marble with green streaks running through it. It's very unique looking. Cotswold. Okay, Cotswold in a lot of ways is really similar to Tintern. They use members of the onion family infused in that cheese. It is a little different than the flavor of the Tintern. Definitely worth tasting separate from it. All right, also Brie. You commonly see Brie on these cheese boards. So pick a nice Brie. Emmental. Okay, that's sort of your French version of Swiss. It's very high quality Swiss. So is Jarlsberg. Very good quality. You can get domestic Swiss, but I guarantee you they don't have the suppleness, the softness, or the nutty flavors that the good stuff has. All right, so consider that. Boursin cheese is always a good item to have on the table. A couple of Boursin cheeses laid out. Make sure you put a little cheese knife in there to make it easier to scoop, the same way you would on your Brie. All right, and never use plastic, for God's sake. Nobody wants to break a plastic knife off while they're trying to scoop something out, and it makes you look awful as a presenter. Boursin cheese, Grana Padano cheese. Oh man, it's in the Grana family, so it's like Romano cheese, like Parmesan cheese. Those are in the Grana family, but the Grana Padano isn't as sharp and salty as those cheeses. It's a little smoother and creamier, and it's one of the favorite cheeses in Italy. It's a good one to use. Jarlsberg, fresh mozzarella. Oh, yummy. Extra sharp cheddar, farmer's cheese, Munster, and Oaxaca. If you do Oaxaca, leave part of the ball there and part of it pulled out and torn off, okay? And so people can pick up pieces of it already removed from the roll, okay? But it looks very classy on the table. Now in your meats, pepperoni. There's a lot of kinds of pepperoni. Prosciutto. You can get domestic prosciutto, but it isn't as tender as the Parma. Parma ham, they feed the pigs whey from the cheese making, and it makes their meat really tender. And the American version of that has a similar flavor, but it's not quite as tender. So a lot cheaper, you save a lot of money. However, you don't get that the quality of texture. All right, hard salamis, sopressata. The hard salamis, a lot of different kinds of salamis you can get. Lebanon bologna is really similar to hard salami and is so delicious. But remember, there's two kinds of Lebanon bologna. There's a sweet one, and there is one that is savory. So bear that in mind. Now also, ham, summer sausage, mortadella, all kinds of really good meats to add to that board. When it comes to slicing and presentation, just do your best not to be ordinary, and do your best to make it look not like everyone else's. So that's all I have to say for today on the here we go again. Charcuterie board. I have such a hard time saying that. Thank you very much for watching this. Please look down below in the description box. My recipes are found at my website, and that link is right there in that description box. That's S.A.Trotter.com. Also, there's other links there to my social media accounts and for Texas Cooking Today, where there is a lot of recipes. Thank you very much for watching this, folks. You have a good day, and please enjoy. Bye-bye.